You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. If you're a smoker or dipper looking to make a change, you really only need one reason to do it. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you can find many. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch. It's made with only 6 simple ingredients. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction, but there's only one Zyn. Learn more about Zyn and find your reason to make a change by registering online at Zyn.com.
Nah, not quite.
What's up?
Sell my car in Carvana. It's just not quite the right time.
Crazy coincidence. I just sold my car to Carvana.
What? I told you about it 2 days ago.
When you know, you know. You know? I'm even dropping it off at one of those sweet car vending machines and getting paid today.
That's a good deal.
Oh, great deal. Come on. What's your heart saying?
You're right. When you know...
You know.
Sold.
Whether you're looking to sell your car right now or just whenever feels right, go to Carvana.com and sell your car the convenient way. Terms and conditions apply.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
I know Tony's been watching this. He did a top 5 yesterday of... you do top 5s every day?
That's what I do, baby.
Did a top 5 yesterday of, I believe it was...
Just one, huh?
Things his wife learned while watching the Netflix show Starting 5. Is
Bingo.
That right?
Yep.
And I don't remember what they were, but it was a very memorable top 5. And I'll tell you the one thing that I've just kind of like landed on. I'm calling Anthony Edwards Chick-Fil-A because I really want to hate him. I really want to dislike him. But just like those Chick-fil-A sandwiches where they put just the right amount of MSG to just hook you on them, Anthony Edwards is addicting. Anthony Edwards has everything you want out of a superstar, despite the fact that he had that one incident where he videotaped himself rolling down the windows and seeing a bunch of guys going into a gay bar saying, "What has the world come to?" So clearly he's got some Chick-fil-A in him. But he's so good. And the second they interview him, I'm just like, I forgot everything he said in the past, and I just want to follow this guy. He is so entertaining. And normally these young guys who you think didn't take college seriously, they're just coming to the league and just showing off their skills. Normally they're not this like combination of polished and humorous. And like just everything he talks about, you feel like he's telling you the truth. He's keeping it real, but he's doing it in an efficient and funny way. And I'm so jealous of Minnesota.
Now I want to figure out what my Chick-fil-A is. I think it's Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Because, man, I love watching that stuff, even though I know it's not good.
But do they, but they don't, like give money to hate groups, do they?
Well, neither does Anthony Edwards. I'm playing the game of, why am I allowed, you just made Anthony Edwards
You're
Chick-fil-A.
playing apples to apples is what you're doing.
But in the same way that I call Chick-fil-A homophobic chicken, I can call Anthony Edwards homophobic superstar. And I'm not saying he's homophobic. I'm just saying he had that one thing.
He's got a couple things, but, it is what it is.
A couple of things. I still haven't gotten to the episode where he's running through a hospital in his,
that's a great episode.
Yeah, I haven't gotten there yet. Very dramatic.
It's a little bit drawn out, but he has a kid in the season, and that's what he's going to,
that's
what he's going to the hospital for.
Izzy, you are very forgiving. I mean, just if a guy's good and he entertains you, that's it.
I am not very forgiving, in fact.
Right.
I have, for example, never seen a show that Chris Broussard is on, ever, since he exposed himself as being who he is. And so him I will not forgive, but Anthony Edwards, man. Like, here's the thing about Edwards is I just think he's a little naive, maybe uninformed on certain things. I mean, why would you videotape yourself saying that to begin with? It's just, the act of an immature human. And based on what I see from him, seems like he has growth potential. And so I feel like, you know what? I don't know what he went through afterward and everything that he had to do to save his image from that situation. I just saw, an official apology or whatever. But if he did learn from that, then there is nothing to hate about him, at least in my book.
I think in Starting 5, you realize some of the undertones as you watch throughout the entire season, the 10 episodes, you realize he's immature. Mm-hmm. He's a kid, right? He's 20-something years old. Like, he doesn't have those, that knowledge of, all right, let me do this, let me say this is the right thing to do. Like LeBron, it's the perfect dichotomy because you have LeBron who's Mr. Perfect Image, who's Mr. Say everything right, do everything right. Here's the picture. I'm holding, hands with Obama. I'm here with kids. Like everything is perfect, right? Right. So it's like you look at that and then you look at Anthony Edwards, you're like, the skill is close, right? When you can push out his trajectory. But then the immaturity is there, and you see it with him having a kid. There's just like some things where you're like, oh, wait, he's still a kid himself.
It's why that ending of the first episode of Starting Five was so perfect.
Yeah.
Because you've got LeBron coming off a win in Miami. It's toward the end of his career. He's talking about how I always want to be the best. I haven't seen anyone who's in better shape than me. And then they cut to a Lamborghini revving. And then you hear Anthony Edwards' voice in the background. You see him walking into the stadium, but you don't see his face. And you just hear him saying, essentially, I don't look up to anybody in the league. There's nobody better than me. Of course, I want to school LeBron one-on-one. And then the final cut is just to his face smirking at the camera. Cut, roll to credits.
So good.
It's as well done as a hype to go to a next episode could possibly be.
The only thing about that bugged me is if we fast forward to the end of that season, he's talking about KD and how much he loves playing against him and how much he is his hero. So he does look up to a few people. But I will say this feels like sort of a lifetime achievement situation for LeBron, one of the many, right? Because on this show, he is able to show us how many songs he knows every word to. Like, this has been something that people...
That opening episode, what are we doing?
Let's be honest, Tony, you've learned enough hip-hop songs that you want to show off. If somebody were just like playing the song and just be like, oh, I got this, and you would just go off and spit every single word. LeBron has been waiting for this every minute of his life. Like he is singing along to songs from like 1999. He's going through a 30-year catalog.
What's the song that surprised you the most in terms of him knowing the words?
I don't think none of them surprised me.
Really?
I'm surprised that he started off with Jay-Z in such an old song.
Yes.
Like I would have thought maybe a little bit something more modern, maybe a little Kendrick since he's having a moment, although he didn't really have the moment last year yet. So maybe some
like
J.
Lil
Cole.
Baby.
Yeah, maybe Lil Baby was definitely having a moment in 23. So I would say I was surprised his choice, but it's the least surprising thing about that show that about 30% of it is just LeBron
It's like,
rapping.
watch me in the back of a very expensive car rap every word to a song that maybe some of you have never heard before.
You know who doesn't know a word to a single song? Michael Jordan. How about that?
Jokic
He was
either.
consumed with winning championships. He didn't have time to listen to music. I mean,
He was just
What
listening.
about in the clip in The Last Dance where he's listening to music?
yeah, but
That's
he
after his playing
doesn't know
days.
the words. Yeah,
Right.
And he's retired. Yeah,
No, it was in Barcelona.
Oh yeah, Olympics.
doesn't count Olympics,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
you don't have to
Okay.
take it that
My bad.
seriously.
Kind of like a vacation for the
My
Olympics.
bad. I haven't
never
watched
question
any
Michael.
Starting Five because I spent my whole week binge watching the second season of the Amazon Lord of the Rings show. And to be honest, coming into work today, because I just finished it last night, it's been a little hard to think about sports because that really consumed me for the last 4 days.
I would imagine anybody who's never watched that show or is not a big Lord of the Rings fan, but is a fan of this show, would equate that to just spending hours of listening to Jeremy dissect the Miami Heat.
Damn.
I think you insulted
man.
both of us.
Damn.
Also, I think that we need to. Actually, I think, Izzy, you specifically need to apologize to Jeremy because I heard before the show you guys talking about we're not going to do this the way we do it when Dan's here. We're not just going to Jeremy, tell us what we like about the Heat. Let's just take a big steamy dump all over it, even though I asked you to do it, which is what the normal dynamic here is.
Right.
The normal
Yeah.
dynamic is, Jeremy, we want you to talk about this. By the way, while you're talking about the thing we asked you to talk about, we're going to make you feel like about
It's the
it.
last 2 years, baby.
And then we ended up just doing it anyways.
And
And
the-
I feel a little bad, even though the power of friendship did actually make me laugh out
It's
loud.
because we try to go into every one of these. We're like, all right, we're going to give him a chance here. And then
The
he
power
starts.
of friendship is strong between me and Jeremy.
And then he
there's no
starts, and we
doubt
just
about
can't
that.
control ourselves.
There was just something in the middle of that where I was just like, wow, there's somebody in Minnesota right now thinking, why am I still listening to this? Because I don't care about
That's why I had the wordy title, which was top 5 reasons to be optimistic about the Heat. If you want to be optimistic about the Miami Heat, not just to do it, but here we are.
That same guy in Minnesota, we got him back with Anthony Edwards, though.
yeah, we did.
That's a good point.
So Lord of the Rings, that's a movie about Michael, right?
You're half right. It's a series about Michael.
I feel like that would be equating him to Sauron, which would mean that he's evil.
All right, Jess, let it out. Like, go ahead. Every Lord of the Rings fan, all three of them that are listeing, they want to connect with you about this.
I did a Q&A on my Instagram story yesterday, and I'll tell you,
I had 14 questions.
There were hundreds of questions from Batard's show.
From 2 people.
Lord of the Rings fans. I will say, one of my favorite questions was, hey, I don't really like Lord of the Rings. Should I watch the show? No. If you don't like Lord of the Rings,
if you don't like it, that's
you should not watch The Rings of Power on Amazon. But yeah, I mean, that's all I got. You guys aren't interested in it, and that's fine. I'm just letting you know I'm playing with a little bit of...
Jeremy, that's how you read a room.
You asked for it. I asked for one.
I'm playing a little distracted today. I know there's a big college football weekend ahead. We previewed it on Gen CFB yesterday. You could check it out in the podcast or on YouTube. And we try to do as much college football as we could in 24 minutes, which is always a difficult ask. But this morning I came in. I know there's an NFL game tonight. I know there was college football last night. I watched the Troy game 2 nights ago. But this whole week, it's just been hard to focus on football because I really have just been watching a lot of Lord of the Rings.
You can't stay awake for like the second half of a Monday Night Football game. How late are you staying up watching this addictive television show?
I actually timed it perfectly last night. So season 8 ended, and then I went straight into Liberty Lynx, which was just a really weird emotional high, and then like, okay, I'm watching basketball now, and then emotional high again at the end of that, and that ended around like, I want to say like 10:15, and I went straight to bed. It was actually perfect timing for me. I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting pretty good at this.
Howdy, listener. It's Mike Ryan. You probably like football, don't you? You're listening to a sports podcast. How can you not love football? From defending your favorite team after a bad loss to obsessively checking your fantasy lineups, football fandom is bigger than just Sundays. Miller Lite knows the passion that comes with rooting for your team, like the debate that sparked in 1975. Great taste versus less filling. So, what is the best thing about the original light beer? Let it be both. From its beautiful color, to that gorgeous white can, to the fact that it's refreshing, to knowing that you're not sacrificing any flavor when you grab America's favorite light beer, the original light beer. Miller Lite keeps it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste at only 96 calories. Make your game time taste like Miller time. Tastes great and is less filling. Let it be both. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Don Batard.
To us residents.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty
It's in there. It's better.
Think I haven't been practicing?
Stugotz.
Oh.
I didn't realize we had a substitute complicated legacy.
Brought to you by Headquarter Toyota. 441 Powerline Road. Second down and 9.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz.
You know, we were talking preseason basketball, and speaking of perfect time, I know, right? Speaking of perfect timing, I was on Oddball with Amin El Hassan. Charlotte was not on the show that day, or not on the segment with me. And we were talking about Zach Edey.
That's odd.
The big...
He looks good.
Looks good.
The big rookie from Purdue.
Post moves look nice.
I mean, he looks big. He looks big.
He looks huge.
I haven't seen post moves since the 80s.
I'm telling you, I saw like a 2-minute cut of him. Looks good.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, because on Oddball, we said he was going to suck. Amin and I both basically said the same thing. We've seen him in the NBA before. There's just no way that's going to work. Too plotting, can't really defend in the new age where you have to switch and everything else. Hasn't hit a 3 yet, 0 for 4, I believe, even though they thought he was going to spread the floor, or they think he will spread the floor for them. He didn't take any threes in college, which I understand doesn't mean he doesn't have the skill set, but it's just a practice, right? If you don't do it in games, you're not just going to all of a sudden start doing it especially well. So despite the fact that he's had like some good games here, like a 10 for 15 game, I know I'm right about this. Like, there's zero question in my mind. Tony, if you, as an avid NBA watcher, believes that he is going to be great, I think you're no longer. I don't think you're a smart basketball fan at that point.
Izzy,
I think you're kind of a dummy.
Real hoopers know that the moment that he gets out onto a floor and there's a switch between whoever is guarding Luka and him, and then all of a sudden he has to guard Luka at the 3-point line, it's over.
Never have I been so sure, despite being proven wrong. Like, I am 1,000% confident that this man will not be, let's say, an impact rotation player this season for the Memphis Grizzlies. I think he will start in the rotation, but I think by, 15, 20 games in, he'll be off the rotation.
So if I just want to be clear on your stance here. If I have the audacity to think Zach Edey is going to be good, you're telling me before he's played a single regular season game that I'm wrong?
I'm telling you that you are wrong 1,000%, and I am right despite the fact that I am currently in the preseason, which it doesn't count, being proven wrong.
Are you taking a victory lap?
I think I am.
About something that hasn't happened yet?
I am taking a victory lap.
Because if you are, I am so proud of you.
I am taking a victory lap ahead of the actual victory. So,
is Danny here today? We need an actual victory lap.
All right.
How did we end up with 2 Stugotzes today?
No, I love this. We're going.
Stugotz.
Izzy, get the hell out of here.
It's usually you and Stugotz.
There's
over there.
3, yes.
You guys are
Oh
the
my
2
God,
Stugotz.
no.
So now there's 3 of us.
You have 2 brothers.
All right, so I'm taking a victory lap then.
I just got a thumbs up from Danny. He's here. You go now.
Wait a second. He's taking a victory lap for real?
The rare pre-first game in the NBA victory lap.
I'm sure the Grizzlies fans are going to love this, but this isn't like your dad's victory lap, Chris Cody, where he just got winded by taking a couple of
that's all he could do.
Brisk steps around the couch out there. What we should utilize this place and go to the gym and let me actually get a workout in.
Let's do it. Get out of here. Go.
Right now.
Go.
Right now.
Go.
Stu, you good?
I mean, he's the EP. He's letting you go mid-segment.
Not letting, demanding.
Okay. Now I'm good. Yeah, now I'm good.
Izzy, do you need help?
I wish I had the penalty box sounder just to force you to leave.
All right,
you can go.
only real hoopers can leave now.
Wow.
All right, I'm out of here.
Ooh.
Enjoy your lap.
I thought Izzy also was doing a figure of speech, it's not your father's victory lap, but he meant Chris Cody's literal father who did a victory lap once where he was out of breath
He was wheezing,
because he couldn't actually run around.
The last guy we should have had do a victory lap.
Can't wait for my Pello Larson and Kashad Johnson victory laps in January.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm marking everything that I said today, so that way you guys can feel silly.
Roy, how far do you think you could run if you had to, jog? Just a, slow pace?
About 15 feet.
I'm wondering if I can make it a mile. I'm serious at this point.
I think I could do 2 miles.
A mile?
Thank you for your confidence in me. I appreciate it.
I can't. A mile?
Yes.
I don't think with all the heaters, a mile is going to be an easy one for you.
You can run a mile. I run not to toot my own horn. I run 3 miles once a week just to make sure I'm in shape.
Right.
But to peek behind the curtain a little bit, Greg said a few months ago he could run a 6-minute mile, which we all said that's the most insane thing
ridiculous.
ever. And then we were talking about who from us who would be most likely to run a sub 6-minute mile. I
Billy.
said definitely not me. I don't know if 6 minutes is really fast.
6
I don't
minutes
think
is
Billy
crazy.
could either.
Jess or Taylor would
Taylor
be.
actually started training for a 6-minute
No, he
mile
didn't.
because I told him there is no way that you could run a 6-minute mile. Respectfully, you are not the build of a fast sprint 1-minute miler. And he's been training for it, and he actually ended up hurting himself because he trained so hard.
Pulled a
for
hammy?
it. So I'm back at the. I don't think anyone here could.
I
run a
just
6-minute
asked
mile.
Taylor, I'm like, since you started this training, what is your fastest mile? He said 7:20.
Wow.
7:20. I could run 7:20 if
Wow.
I pushed myself, but 6 minutes is legitimately really, really hard, and I don't think anyone here could do it.
Chris, do you think you could churn out a mile right now?
Physically, yes. It's not going to be a fast mile, but nobody can jog slow like I can.
Right.
I have this if I'm going to run back when I would run a little bit, I could just jog the slowest pace you'd ever see, where I'm walking essentially.
Right.
But my body is moving at
A 60-minute mile?
My arms are moving at the jogging pace, but it's just, oh man.
Chris, I think you could do.
Good.
You could do 7.5, 8 minutes if you practiced a couple times. I believe in you. You're an athletic guy.
Are we saying 6 minutes is a long time or a short time? Because for me, 6 minutes is an eternity.
Same here. Yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor said
5 more minutes than I'm accustomed to.
Taylor said that 7:20 was the hardest thing he's ever done. He's I cannot get lower than this. He gave up after 7:20.
The 720 miles, the hardest.
He's like, I
thing
can't beat this.
Not to brag, I won the neighborhood turkey trot last year with my
That's 2 brags, by the way.
5K.
It is 2 brags. I always had a strategy when I did that growing up on Long Island. So my dad would do it, my brother would do it, I'd do it with them. I would sprint. I always wanted to tell somebody I had the lead through a half mile. So I would sprint the first half mile, and then I'd bail in the entire race. But I would tell everyone, hey, I was leading after a half mile or a mile. and then I would tail
And
out.
they would be impressed. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to brag, but I feel like we often will be like, who here is most likely to do this thing? And everyone's like, Tony, Billy. And I'm like, cool. I'm sitting right here as the person that definitely exercises and plays the most sports of the entire group. And I'm chopped liver. So someone's got to advocate for me. And today, it's me.
All right.
Good for you.
Can I ask a question?
No.
Can I ask a question that I had watching Game Day this week? Washington State very famously has the record. I think it's 310 straight appearances on College GameDay. And it got me thinking who second place is and how pissed they are at Washington State. Like I saw like an Oregon State flag there, and I'm just like,
we're never going to catch up.
I just like the idea of Oregon State.
Oh, you mean the flag is there?
Yeah, the flag at Game Day.
Old Crimson.
Okay.
And every week they show Old Crimson. They're like Washington State gets the love, and then you see like the Oregon State flag in the background, and you're thinking like they've probably been there 297 straight times.
Right.
But no one ever talks about it.
Right.
Like,
why would you talk about second place though?
If you're Oregon State, though, are you trying to like make sure that the Washington State flag like misses their flight, and it's like, oh, sorry, you guys can't make it?
You're trying to take out the person who's responsible for the Washington State
If I'm
flag?
in second place with longest appearance, like most appearances, I want the Washington
I
State one
understand.
to end.
Yeah, I know, I get it, and so
Is there a second place? Like,
I think there is.
I know that the Washington State people, like, they have to make a concerted effort to make sure there is a flag bearer at every single game day. Like, they logistically plan it out so that the streak continues. I don't know if there is another group.
There should be.
With a flag doing that.
I like the idea of you being like it's like a group, like to get Washington State flag there. Like she said, they like have to work hard. It's like this week you got it, 2 weeks this person's going. So we have it all plotted out who's gonna, and then just like it's like the Stugotz of the group. He
and
just,
you
like,
have some
doesn't
guy
make
from
it.
Corvallis with Oregon State
Well,
trying
now
to
I'm
take
thinking
out
about
Washington State.
the irresponsible Washington State person that ruins it for everyone. They just oversleep, and they just like imagine like it's your day to like bring the flag.
It's Ryan Leaf's day.
It's your day as the Washington State guy. Like I haven't had a day in 3 years. Like it's my day to bring it, and I oversleep. That would be terrible.
Oh man, that would be terrible.
What if they were like? What if
Do they
Reese
have a backup
Davis?
flag?
What if Reese Davis like midway through is like, hey, I don't want to be an alarmist, but I do not see a Washington State flag here.
That's going to be like a Kyle Ripken day right
And then
there.
there's
going to be an announcement.
And then like the alumni association, there's like a strongly worded email of like, what the hell happened, Frank? You were supposed to be there, and Frank's like, I overslept. I feel like Game Day would just put the flag up, just like we got to keep this streak
They have
going.
an emergency Washington
Yes.
State flag, and it's like behind a glass case, and they have to punch it.
And Oregon State's like, oh, come on, he overslept. And you're still going to put it up?
The streak's over.
This is bullcrap.
Were you on a gummy?
No,
I
I
love this bit.
just saw the Oregon State flag.
Right.
And I was just like,
so
no one talks about their
So do we know if there is a second place? Because that's an important point to know.
Like, are you only tracking? You're only tracking Washington State?
Well, I mean,
because it's been there since like 2003 or something.
Chris, when DiMaggio had the hit streak at like 55 games, no one was paying attention to the guy with the 12-game hit streak. You know?
Should have been.
Exactly.
Well,
I don't, Chris, to answer your question,
Yes.
and I guess Chris's question, everyone's question. If there is another flag that has made several consecutive appearances at Game Day, I don't know about it. So
I'm going to get to the bottom. I'm going to text Reese.
I mean,
text Reese.
there has to be a second place. And I'm certain Reese would call out Washington State if they didn't show up one day.
But does anyone care about the second place one? Like, no. It's just no one's keeping track of second
Until
place.
Washington State oversleeps. Then all of a sudden, Oregon
everyone
State.
cares.
It's our time.
Kent State all of a sudden is in second.
Kent State.
There's no way it's Kent State.
No way. No.
It is a big football weekend. Jess, I'm wondering here because I would say you have a second place, Jeremy? Oh, you did not? Okay. Stugotz here. I'm always looking to improve my golf game. Who's not? Hit the ball straighter, further, not having to worry about trying to hit everything perfect to make a good shot, all of it. I headed over for a fitting at a PXG location near me and upgraded the gloves in my bag. The fitting experience was phenomenal. Right by my house, Steve, the fitter for PXG, was amazing. I walked in with one set of clubs and I left with a brand new set of PXG clubs, and they are the absolute best. I have the Gen 7 irons, 10 years in the making. New PXG Gen 7 irons are the greatest leap forward in technology and performance in PXG history. PXG Gen 7s are the first irons to push ball speed to the official USGA limit. Gen 7 irons deliver groundbreaking new levels of feel, forgiveness, speed, and distance. Upgrade your bag with PXG clubs and take your game to a whole new level for a limited time. You can save $10 per club Head over to pxg.com/Dan and use code Dan at checkout. That's pxg.com/Dan, code Dan, to save $10 per club on your order. pxg.com/Dan, code Dan.
Folks, listen up. It promises to be a month of tricks, treats, and of course, touchdowns. And DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is the #1 place to bet on touchdowns. New to DraftKings? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score a touchdown. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Here's the reason for new customers to do a touchdown dance of their own. Bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DAN. That's code DAN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
Dan Le Batard.
Sugar daddies. These things, I'm telling you.
I love sugar daddies.
They get stuck in your teeth. Like
What?
you can't chew them. They're like impossible to chew. They are
Looking for
impossible
sugar
to chew.
daddies every day.
Stugotz.
Hell yeah, brother.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
I would say that Alabama and Texas is probably, right, the game of the year. You could say that about Alabama, Georgia a few weeks ago, but the way it sits right now, you have Texas, you have Georgia. A lot of people think Texas is the best team in the country. I am fascinated by this game because I am not certain whether or not, because no one is. We don't know how the playoff is going to look, whether or not Georgia can lose a second game and still make the playoffs. A lot of people say yes. I don't know if that's the case, to be honest.
I think that both games are pretty important because there's going to be two teams in the SEC that we thought were really good going into the season that will have their second loss Sunday morning. And it could be Georgia and Alabama. It could be Tennessee and Georgia. But we do know Texas is the #1 team in the #1 spot. And if they lost to Georgia, it would not be the end of the world for them. So I would say in that case, yes, I guess it does make Tennessee and Alabama have higher stakes because the loser of that game is going to have to really prove that they belong in the playoff for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But both games have huge playoff implications and huge SEC implications. I'm really excited for Georgia at Texas because it's in Austin. The U.S. Grand Prix is this weekend in Austin. It's going to be a huge sports weekend in Austin. I'm super bummed that I'm not going to be there, but I think that is just going to be an incredible atmosphere, and I think it's just going to be such a great Saturday.
I think it's going to be so interesting to see how the committee chooses this playoff. I do, meaning if Georgia does have 3 losses, but let's say, I don't know, Missouri has 1 loss. I hope they don't do it the way they've been doing it forever. I hope they just look at body of work. Okay, they lost a close game to Alabama. They dominated the second half. Maybe they lose a close game to Texas. They're definitely one of the 12 best teams in the country, and Missouri is not. I hope it's not a win-loss thing. I hope they can look at body of work, injuries, and everything. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why a lot of people favor the committee versus just like going off of like a computer algorithm because they can factor in injuries and road games versus home games and stuff like that. I do also think Michigan-Illinois this weekend, sneaky could be a big game because Illinois, they obviously let Purdue come back last weekend, took it to overtime and won by 1 point in overtime because Purdue could not convert their 2-point conversion in OT. But Michigan already has 2 losses this season. They have really struggled to find a quarterback that works for them. They've used 3 already. I don't know who's starting in this game. We might see a couple quarterbacks. It's just been a mess there. But Illinois they're good. Like they weren't able to beat Penn State. They only had 1 drive in that game where they were able to score points. And so maybe, I don't think they're like an elite college football team, but if they're able to beat Michigan this weekend, I think that is a really great season for Illinois. They're going to obviously be in a bowl game. They'll be 6-1. They'll be ranked in the top 20. I just think that's a really exciting place for that program because they've struggled a lot in the last few years and have had few great seasons, and so beating a Michigan team, even one without a great starting quarterback, I think would be huge for that program.
Well, and think about it, Stu. The thing that you and Greg and a lot of others were worried about was, oh man, there's going to be fewer games that matter toward the postseason. And now we're sitting here talking about like Michigan, Illinois as a game that matters nationally. You're talking about games this weekend in the SEC and every single weekend in the SEC that teams with potentially 2 or 3 losses could make it. And the good news for you is that all the way through, it really has been what you're talking about. It has not been about who has the most wins or losses and only undefeated teams make it versus, 1-loss teams or 2-loss teams. It has been all the way through. We're going to take the 4 best teams. And so now there are some automatic qualifiers. There's the highest ranked group of 5 conference champion. There are the Power 4 conference champions. But after that, it's a whole bunch of teams that the committee gets to look at and go, all right, who do we think is the best? And that, for such a wide open playoff, makes this season just fascinating.
So I have changed my stance. I went into the college football season saying that they had it perfect. They did. The regular season was great. The regular season felt like a postseason, right? And then you had 4 teams make it to the actual postseason. But I stand corrected. This has been great because there are more big games. There are fascinating matchups. There are teams that don't normally play teams during the regular season. It doesn't have to be a bowl matchup. And so college football, they got it right. They really did. They got it right. And now, but here's what happens. And this is my concern. So 12 teams, great. We're all agreeing it's great. College football will get greedy and expand this thing out. And suddenly a 12-team playoff will be a 24-team playoff.
Well, I feel like I've already...
It's going to happen.
We've already rehashed the 12-team playoff thing a number of times, but it is only week 8. We don't know what the playoff looks like yet. We don't know how much injuries are going to factor into this because teams are going to obviously be playing more and more games, and the season's going to get longer and longer. But I do think there probably could have been a middle ground where we went from 4 to 6 or 4 to 8 before we went from 4 to 12. But as far as the season goes, obviously I have no complaints. It's been a great college football season. There's been a lot of really good teams. I think that the 12-team playoff happening and coinciding with a lot of the big conference realignment moves has also kind of doubled the effect of the chaos this year because Oregon and Ohio State being a conference game and Texas and Georgia being a conference game, that wouldn't have been the case last year. Those teams aren't going to play each other during the regular season unless they scheduled a non-con 3 years ago. So I think there's a lot of different things happening at once with conference realignment and the playoff starting this year. And it just remains to be seen how much we love it in December and January, but I don't think people are going to...
It's going to be impossible not to love.
I don't think people are going to... That's what I'm saying. I don't think people are going to complain about home playoff games. If Oregon gets to host a playoff game, which obviously I think that would be a bummer for them at this point because they want the bye. But these are going to be some great playoff sites, great college football programs that are hosting playoffs at really iconic stadiums for the most part. So I think that that's going to be something people really love. And I've looked at the scheduling, I'm going to be so locked in those 2 days of the first playoff weekend.
So much fun.
I'm just going to be sitting there and I'm not going to move for 12 hours and it's going to be awesome.
I can't wait. Izzy is moving right now. He is in the gym. He's taking a victory lap. Tony is up there with him. Izzy's on a treadmill. Tony, what's going on up there?
So, Stu, let me paint the picture for you. We're here at the beautiful Elser Gym overlooking the bay, overlooking everything, and Izzy is about to take his victory lap. Izzy is going to pick up the speed. We're obviously brought to you by Peloton. We're doing a Peloton app hit run right now. So Izzy likes to do things a little bit harder than the average person. He's an athlete. He's a guy that, he's a guy that works out, a guy that likes to train. So instead of just taking a regular victory lap around a couch or downstairs, he wants to do a hit workout, and he's going to answer questions if you guys have about Zach Edey. But I'm going to start here. Why did you and when did you know that Zach Edey wasn't going to be the player that everybody thought he was?
You guys thought I was sweaty before. Look, I thought Zach... Hang on, I gotta go. I thought Zach Edey, watching him in college, you can tell he's a big, plodding, big guy, doesn't really have the mobility. And when everybody started talking... I got to get to it. Everybody started talking about him as this new big man in the NBA, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, he must have lost a lot of weight. He must have trimmed down, but no, he's doing the exact same things I expected him to do out there on the floor. 5 dribbles for a post-up, like a hook shot from 12 feet. You're not going to get away with that during the regular season.
So my question to you is, did Taylor Jenkins look at Zach Edey and be like, this is the guy of the future, or maybe was that imposed on him from management?
I would say Taylor Jenkins is 40 years old. I'm 47. I've been around the league longer than Taylor Jenkins to the Memphis Grizzlies. Don't be fooled, my guy. It might work for a little bit. It might work for a little bit. It might work for a couple of preseason games, maybe even a big possession where they don't want to double. But, man, it's not going to work all season long. I would say by about game 30, he's off the bench barely playing.
We've got obviously people that protect. He's going, guys. He's at 10 speed right now. Rim protector. What do you think about rim protectors in this day and age, especially being that big like Zach Edey?
I figure out how much more I got to go. Rim protectors is his. I mean, you can be big, but you got to be mobile too. You got to be able to not foul, and you got to get from one side of the rim to the other side of the rim to be able to block stuff. I'd rather have Heat rookie Khalil Ware protecting the rim.
Now, Tony,
are we done yet?
Now, Tony, let me jump in here and remind people that this victory lap is brought to you by Peloton. Find your push, find your power with Peloton.
All right, so we finished the victory lap. It's slowing down here. Is it? I don't know. Hold on, I'm trying to. There we go. Izzy, how did you feel on the first victory lap here at the Elser Gym, doing a 10 speed? People don't realize how fast you were going because they didn't see your feet, but you were flying.
I'm not going to lie. I mentioned earlier I'm 47. I didn't really get a good warm-up. My Achilles was barking the whole time, but I feel pretty good now. And you know who else is 47? Tom Brady. I'd like to challenge him to a race.
Wow. All right.
Good job. All right, that is it for the victory lap. Well done by you, Izzy.
Wow. That looked painful.
Right. Tony ran out of Zach Edey questions, I think.
We finally got one of Taylor's
Not so Edey doing that job.
No. But if Edey starts making threes, we'll call him 3D, right? I mean, is that fair?
3D.
3D. You like that? Yeah.
I do like
Zach
that.
3D. How about that?
How about that? How about another basketball storyline for you, Stugotz?
Really?
That is interesting here. Not Miami Heat, so you can actually stay enthused about it.
We'll see.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yes.
Some people on the internet are saying that he basically created a new way of making a trade request without making a trade request.
Wow.
Go on, I'm intrigued.
I'm intrigued.
So he was asked, I guess, about, expectations for the season. The Bucks obviously have championship aspirations and, what it could be like if they don't win a championship. And the quote coming out of this article from Sam Amick in The Athletic, yeah, if we don't win a championship, I might get traded. This is the job we live. This is the world we're living in. It's everybody. At any given moment, if you don't succeed, that might be it for you. If you don't do a good enough job, you're out.
Wow. No name
Now,
is bigger than the
this
team.
I love
is
that.
genius
Yes.
of him because you're already sort of planting the seeds for, hey, if this doesn't all work out with me and Damian Lillard again this year, just a couple years left on my contract, hey, you know what? Management might want to trade me. I don't want out of Milwaukee, but they might want to get rid of me. And, I'm such a high value in this league. It would just be such a shame.
He's almost saying that he wouldn't blame management if he doesn't win a championship
right.
this year if they wanted to trade him.
Which is genius because then if you can plant that seed early and then come back around in the offseason if it doesn't work out and be like, you know what? I think management would probably be wise to move me. And if they did, I'd be happy ending up in this city or that city or that city or that city. This to me is as well done as you could possibly do this before the season
so good.
Of planting the seeds without actually asking out.
It is so good. I'm so jealous. I haven't thought of it first. I mean, that's
amazing.
Such a great move by Giannis. Who knows if they don't win a championship this year, it has nothing to do with him.
Correct.
And if they win, the only reason they'll win is because of him.
Correct.
Yes. But if I don't blame you. Trade me to the Knicks.
Right. And
I
the
love
Bucks
that.
would be in such a weird spot, too,
I know.
honestly, given the construction of their roster. It does make sense. What he's saying makes a lot of sense. But when you're a player with as much star quality as he has on the contract that he has, obviously the Bucks would want to retool around you, not move you. They're not going to end up with anybody like Giannis in Milwaukee. And so now, the Eastern Conference is going to be fascinating and up for grabs. So I think this is a interesting sort of storyline to monitor moving forward.
Is there a dominant team this year in the NBA? Is there, because
the Celtics are still supposed to, look,
I don't think anyone takes them seriously. Even while winning a championship, I don't think anyone takes the Celtics seriously in the NBA.
Totally different response from NBA media and people in the NBA with this team getting over the hump and winning a championship as opposed to teams past, just like the Golden State Warriors, who like everyone was waiting and waiting and waiting, and then when they did it, we anointed them one of the greatest teams we've ever seen. This Celtics team did things statistically and in terms of dominance that even the Warriors didn't do, and they are literally the best team ever in terms of going 73-9. So the Celtics are supposed to run away with the East and be the best team in the league as the West beats up on each other, but creeping behind them, right? You've got the Sixers who made their move with Paul George, albeit, his injury in the preseason. You've got, the Bucks who we just mentioned, all these young teams getting better. I won't say the Miami Heat, despite the fact that I feel that way. There are all of these teams that are sort of creeping behind them. The Knicks getting more competitive, we think, that you never know what happens if the Celtics actually get tested and have to go 7 games against a team.
I'm just saying this, though. In NBA circles, it seems like the least respected championship team, one of them of all, it's like the Marlins winning the 2003 World Series.
Which is crazy because
no one
this
took
team
that
is
seriously.
Loaded and coming back.
Yes.
And they have anointed young players. And by the way, should be respected. Like the Celtics, that team is unbelievable, was dominant, and was one of the best teams we've seen in the Eastern Conference this century.
Yes.
And yet, nationally, it's sort of not talked about that way. Obviously, like we had our talking points here that, we were going to go after Jason Tatum's numbers in the clutch and try to find our ways to talk ourselves into, hey, they're not going to win it. They're not going to win it. They're not going to win it. But once they did, you have to look back at it and acknowledge how great they are. And there's no reason they should be any worse this year.
Who is the least respected champion of all time?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think it's Trent Dilfer's Ravens, right?
No, but everybody
that
agreed
defense
that defense was amazing.
Yes, but everyone wonders how they won with Trent Dilfer.
If Rex Grossman had won it with the Bears.
Ben Wallace Pistons.
Oh, that's a good one.
God, that team was so good.
They went back-to-back? Did they win 2?
They went to back-to-back.
They won one. They lost the second time
What about
around.
the Giants, the 2 Super Bowls with Eli Manning.
That's a good one. Wow. But when you beat the best team that's ever lived, don't you get a little bit of respect?
I don't know. I mean, I don't discount them, but I feel like people are always like, oh, the Giants, they stink. They've always stunk. And I'm like, what? You won 2 Super Bowls.
I would say if you beat Brady and Belichick twice, you're 2-0 in Super Bowls against them. That kind of neuters that a little bit. I would say the Giants' Super Bowl with Jeff Hostetler is a team that no one really took that seriously, but the same kind of deal because that defense was so dominant and so good.
Those Marlins you mentioned, those 2003 Marlins might be a good example, right? Because from 97 to 2003, they win 2 championships in 6 or 7 seasons, and yet nobody took the franchise seriously whatsoever and knew that within a couple of years it would be totally disassembled.
Well, in 97, we took the first title seriously for a week until he traded everyone away. No one took 2003 seriously. Nobody took 2003 because that team was it was patched together.
The 1 year of
manager
Pudge.
fired. Here comes Jack McKeon, Trader Jack. He's 97 years old. He's going to make you laugh. And with his magic, he's going to win a World Series.
So all that being said, do you want a top 5 reasons to be optimistic about the Marlins
No,
next
I want to
season,
talk football with Mina Kimes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Howdy, listener. It's Mike Ryan. You probably like football, don't you? You're listening to a sports podcast. How can you not love football? From defending your favorite team after a bad loss to obsessively checking your fantasy lineups, football fandom is bigger than just Sundays. Miller Lite knows the passion that comes with rooting for your team, like the debate that sparked in 1975. Great taste versus less filling. So, what is the best thing about the original light beer? Let it be both. From its beautiful color, to that gorgeous white can, to the fact that it's refreshing, to knowing that you're not sacrificing any flavor when you grab America's favorite light beer, the original light beer. Miller Lite keeps it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste at only 96 calories. Make your game time taste like Miller time. Tastes great and is less filling. Let it be both. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Decisions.
Wait a minute. Are you still looking for cars on Carvana?
Yeah, decisions.
When I used Carvana, I found the exact car I was looking for in minutes. Bought it on the spot.
Electric or full diesel? Decisions.
Come on, you've been at it for weeks. Just buy it already.
You're right. Crossover it is. Decisions decided.
Whether you know exactly what you want or like to take your time, buy your car the convenient way with Carvana.